Welcome back to another episode of Riding the Wall. I'm Chad.
And I'm Justin.
And we are your undisputed tag team champions of the podcast world. So, what are we going to talk about this week?
We talk about the All-Star race.
Yeah, but first, did you have a good week?
Not bad. I've been busy.
Yeah?
Yeah. How about yourself?
I had a decent week. I mean, it was okay, but I think, what was it, Monday? Monday I had to have a little moment of silence. Got a date circled on my calendar every year because a well-known person that we both liked in the past passed away 12 years ago this past Monday. And that would be the Macho Man, Randy Savage. So he passed away 12 years ago, and then Owen Hart passed away. Was it 20? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
This is being recorded on Wednesday. What is today?
March 24th.
24th, yeah, he died on the 23rd of March in 99, so it's 24 years ago. It don't seem like that long ago. I remember watching that live.
Yeah, we was watching it live when it happened.
Yeah, so for everybody out there listening, we are old school wrestling fans. We love to talk about wrestling. We love to watch the old school wrestling because that's the real good wrestling.
Yeah.
Today's stuff just ain't quite cutting it, but it's okay. But the old school was better, and the Macho Man was back then, so.
Yeah, so if anybody's out there drinking, listen to the podcast, look up and give them a big oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But other than that, I had a pretty good week. Pretty busy, my normal stuff. But
it's been pretty nice out, this whole week here in southern Indiana. No rain yet.
The weather's beautiful.
It's just perfect. It's a lot of.
What are we, low 80s?
Yeah, low
83.
80s, sunny. Get a little breeze here and there, but I've been, throwing beers and drinking cornhole all week.
Yeah.
In the evening times.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
get that practice in for Bristol. That's what I need to be doing.
That's exactly what made me think of that, because we're the undisputed cornhole champions down there.
We are.
And we left there last year undefeated.
And we're going to back it up this year.
If anybody wants to come up and catch Chad and myself,
talk some shit, drink some beer, and get beaten cornhole.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to oblige.
That's right. So did you happen to watch this All-Star race?
No, I told
that's on that FS1, ain't it?
Yeah, it's on FS1, so I don't get FS1, but I caught the highlights on my phone and stuff like that. I was, big round of applause to Kyle Larson. He dominated. He had like a 5-second lead on second place when he crossed the checkers, and he's that kind of driver that, you put these guys out there on the track that ain't been raced in 30 years, and he goes out there and wins it. Because he is that kind of driver. That's where I was going. Was you can put him in a car, and he's going to drive it. He don't need to have the experience on the track or in the car. He'll figure out how to get around there the fastest.
Yeah. He swept the weekend, didn't he? He won the truck race, won the cup race. It's a pretty good race. $1
million richer.
Yeah, like he needed it, but I guess everybody can use an extra million. I know I could.
Yeah.
Let's see. We had. What was I going to talk about as far as this race goes? Go ahead.
Let me touch on one thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's the only touch point that I wanted to touch on, because even not watching the race in real time, it spoke volumes to me.
This ought to be good.
And it was Noah Gragson getting the fan vote into the All-Star race. Noah is a semi-popular driver, I guess you'd say. He kind of middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with that confrontation with Ross Chastain happening very recently, that's why the fans spoke and voted him in there, because they were happy. I feel like that was a pat on the back to that young man, to saying, good job, way to stand up to him, way to go after him.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me feel like the NASCAR fan base was saying, we think Ross needs his ass whipped.
Yeah, he needs that punch in the face like he was going to give it to him. And I think you're exactly right, And had he actually connected with a punch to Ross Chastain right in the face, I think he would have had even more fan votes. He would have just been a runaway winner with that. I mean, I don't know how many votes
Well,
he
I mean,
won
he
by,
didn't
but
he didn't get voted in for his haircut.
well, that's true.
We know that. So it had to be something. And I mean, Noah's a young man. He's new to the Cup Series. So this ain't a dig at him whatsoever about not winning any races yet, because he will in the future.
Yeah.
I have faith that he will. I don't know when, but I feel like he's got the talent that he'll eventually be first one across that line. But so he's not getting voted in on wins. He's not getting voted in for his haircut.
He just got to rely on talent.
I mean, the only thing he could have been voted in for, to me, was by the fans, was for going after Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
And that spoke about, when I seen that he was the one that got voted in, that spoke volumes to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was kind of disappointed. I thought maybe Corey LaJoie was going to get voted in, because he's a pretty popular person.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could
listened
see
to his
that.
podcast a little bit, and he's on the Sirius XM every Tuesday. I listen to that sometimes. I don't listen to it a whole lot on Tuesdays, but other days that I do listen to it, but he's not on there those days. But he's a pretty popular guy. He's pretty down-to-earth, level-headed. He's just one of us, just a good old boy out there racing cars, and that's...
Never been in no harm.
Right. And so I thought he was going to get it. But...
and you know what? I mean, we'll see who goes after Ross next year, 2 weeks before the All-Star race.
yeah, you want to get in that race? Let's go punch Ross in the face. That'll do it. But the race itself was a pretty good race, I thought. I've heard a lot of people saying that it was a boring race. It was dull. There was no action. Blah, blah, blah. I thought it was a great race. I mean, just because one guy nailed the setup, or one team nailed the setup, I mean, you got the best driver out there and the best equipment. There's a lot of things pointing to the fact that he's probably going to run away with this thing, And considering it's a track that none of those guys have raced on, sim, they're in the sim. I don't think that's good practice, but it's not.
It's not real practice.
Exactly. It's
nothing compares to track time. Period.
Right. And so to see Larson run away with a race like that, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I think it just kind of speaks volumes to how much the crew chief did his homework, how much that driver did their homework.
Well,
and they really wanted to win that race.
Right, but you've also got one of the top 3 best wheelmen in that car. Speaking of Kyle Larson, you got one of the top 3 wheelmen driving that car. You got his boss, who won the last race there. Not only the last race there, he won multiple races there. So, I'm sure Jeff Gordon is who I'm talking about. I'm sure Jeff gave him all the insight that he could.
Yeah.
And as well as William Byron and Chase Elliott and Josh Berry. I'm sure that I assume Jeff probably spoke with every one of them young men about this track. And, it's just, with that team, just like Chad said, that with that team and that equipment and the people that support that team, it was almost, you could almost called it before the race even happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't expect him to win by that much, but seeing Kyle Larson go out and win doesn't surprise me at all.
Right.
He's one of them guys that it doesn't matter where we race at, he's going to be one of the favorites. Him.
He's going to be a contender for sure.
Yeah, and you've got a handful of guys out there that are, especially a lot of these older guys that have been to these tracks numerous times. The Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick's, Joey Logano's. They're going to be favorites, or not necessarily favorites, but they're going to be in the top 5 favorites to win almost everywhere you go. And now Larson has proven that he's a road course racer. He hasn't really proved anything on Bristol dirt, but we know he's a dirt racer, so I mean he can do everything. So anywhere we go, he's going to be a favorite to win. So it doesn't really surprise me that he wins by
5 seconds.
Yeah, 5 seconds on a short track. So I thought that was pretty pretty impressive of that young man. So,
And what? Something else that we don't know as fans is, I mean, I know it wasn't a huge race. It wasn't a long race or nothing like that. It wasn't a lot of pit stops and so on and so forth. But this, it's even more vital that when you do have less pit stops in a shorter race, it's more vital that that communication between that crew chief and that driver is so spot on. And I think Kyle, just from his experience in the NASCAR series, and I'm talking Xfinity Truck and Cup, on top of his dirt track experience of saying, this is what my car needs. Because I feel like he feels everything in that car. So, to me, communication, as much as anything, is winning these races like this. If he can take that one pit stop that you get and say, this is what my car needs, it gets understood a lot easier from his pit team, on how to fit that car to him if he can't make it himself fit to the car.
Yeah.
So, I think just being an experienced driver and having the communication that none of us fans hear is key.
Yeah. And that's where racing 5 nights a week is really helping this guy out, because he feels every pebble that car runs over, and he knows if that's throwing that car off. He knows if that's helping that car, just by feeling. And then just a few moments later, he knows, and then he's relaying that back to the crew chief, and then having that good relation with that crew chief, so the crew chief, like you said, he knows what he's saying, so he's already jotting it down, got it going, and they can get him fixed up and get him right back out there to dominate a race. So get used to it, people.
Right.
We're going to be seeing Larson doing that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the best man should win. And that's how I look at it. We've all got our favorites and things like that, but the hardest workers who should win that race. And I don't just mean the person in the driver's seat. I mean, when I say team, I mean team, because you got a whole crew of people behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's not just the driver.
Right.
So, with all that said, and now that Wilkesboro's in the rearview mirror, what do we do next year? Do we keep it on the schedule? What's your thoughts?
I say put it on the schedule, but as a points race, just like I said the previous weeks. Put it on there as a points race.
Yeah.
And maybe we get another track rocking and rolling like Rockingham, and we do the All-Star race there, and the year after that it gets put on the circuit.
Yeah.
And maybe add one of them and take away Phoenix, or take away a track that we race multiple times like that, except for Talladega, Daytona, and Bristol. I say you leave them three, let them three race twice a year, and start chipping away at some of these other tracks.
Yeah, it's
Pocono and Phoenix and Kansas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I've never been excited about a Pocono race. I think the track is obviously unique as any other track, but it's probably one of the most unique tracks. But something about Pocono, I can't get excited for a Pocono race.
Right. I'm okay racing them once a year, but I don't think we can do it twice a year.
Right. Once a year is fine. Twice a year, it's gosh.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts. So taking one away from Pocono, I would be fine with that.
Or maybe, I don't know how this Chicago street race is going to go this year. I'm excited to see how it's going to go, but if it doesn't pan out, cut it off the circuit and put North Wilkesboro in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if the Chicago street race doesn't work out, I think NASCAR is kind of in a predicament, just because they've gone away from Chicagoland Speedway. It's just sitting out there in the field doing nothing now, and they're going to the street race. So they're trying to keep the Chicago, the fans in Chicago, can't think of the right word that I'm looking for right now.
the fan base.
Yeah, the fan
right
base
there.
in and around Chicago. They're
Right.
trying to keep them with a, what was that, a motorcycle?
I don't know.
I hear something. I don't know if that's an airplane flying low. Anyway, yeah, they're trying to keep the Chicago fan base with a race there. So if the street race don't go very well, it's kind of a predicament for the schedule makers of NASCAR. So I'm with you though. I would love to see North Wilkesboro and Rockingham in the place of a couple of these tracks that we go to.
Yep.
And I was at one point I was saying before the Kansas race this year, I was saying let's just get rid of one of the Kansas dates. But they put on a hell of a race. So
Yeah.
that was
They
the most entertaining race so far this year.
Right. I mean, it is a good race, but I'm just talking about some of these that we hit twice,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even be opposed to some of the races that we hit twice, cut one of them, and do a second dirt race at Eldora.
I would love that.
I would love that.
That'd
That'd
be awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, Illinois is a big dirt racing state too.
That's true.
So let's just pull the asphalt off Chicagoland, and
I'm good with that. Make it a mile and a half dirt.
absolutely.
Shoot.
How awesome would that be?
That'd be freaking sweet.
Yeah. See, it's just ideas constantly 24/7 in this head. I mean, they don't go away.
Some of them I'm afraid to know what they are, but
Well, I will.
So,
Yeah.
that's another show.
Yeah.
But the heat races went pretty good. I mean, they were heat races. Nothing too exciting, but I liked the format. I really enjoyed the format of this All-Star race, and that was one of the big things leading up to it that got it so much hype was the format. And it worked out like they thought it would, at least in my opinion. So the heat races, the open race was pretty good. Josh Berry wins. Ty Gibbs finished second, which is kind of the top two that we thought would probably be there. Not necessarily in that order, but those two would take the top two spots. Ty Gibbs finally getting a little dust up in that open race. Did you see that?
I did.
He got into it with Michael McDowell.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
A couple of times. I guess they tried to. I guess Ty Gibbs was getting around McDowell, and McDowell kind of pulled a Newman, kind of made his car a little bit wide, tough to pass. And I think it was going at 3 wide right there.
There was. I was going to say, who was the third person in that? Was it Larson?
No, I don't remember. I'm thinking for some reason I'm thinking LaJoy, but I don't know if that's right. I'm not sure. I'm just seeing the 7 in my head, but I don't know if that's right. I do know it was Ty Gibbs on the inside. He was trying to get around. He was trying to go around both of those cars because they were both racing for position and slower than Gibbs was. But McDowell happened to be in the middle, and he's the one that got the worst end of it because
Right.
Gibbs come out and then he spun and got up into the wall and probably broke a toe link. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I caught the end of the race and I could see McDowell just going around. He looked just squirrely as hell trying to keep the car straight, and he was doing a pretty good job considering what that car was, how it was driving and what it looked like. I mean, he just looked like he was driving on ice the whole time.
I remember there at the end when they was talking to him, and he said somebody's going to walk away unhappy.
Yeah.
And McDowell is, big time Christian. He gets his feathers ruffled sometimes, but he never gets carried away.
But he has been known to throw some hands from time
Right.
to time.
Well, I mean that you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way it goes.
Yeah. But a little bit later in the race, after that happened, Gibbs was coming back around and was going to put a lap on him, and McDowell pushed him down into the inside wall. So I thought that's pretty good. I like that. That's the kind of payback I like to see. Just enough to say, hey, I don't like what you did.
It didn't go unnoticed.
Right. So it's just going to live right there in Ty Gibbs' mind next week.
I want you to know
Charlotte.
that I know.
Yeah. So you better watch your back, bud, because it could happen anytime. But then he also said he didn't have the budget to go down there and, talk to him face to face because it might get worse than just that. So, but good for him for, keeping his composure. That was the excitement of the open race. And then the actual All-Star race is like we said, Larson just walks away. There wasn't a whole lot. I was kind of impressed with Ty Gibbs because he started in the back. And, a lot of people are saying there wasn't much passing, but they were just looking at Kyle Larson probably. But, nobody was passing Larson. He was passing everybody else. But if you look back through the field, the race isn't boring.
Right.
There's a lot going on that racetrack than just what that leader's doing. So anytime you think a race is boring, put your eyes somewhere else and look around the track.
Well, and that's what I was doing during this race. I was going onto my phone because, like I said, I don't get FS1 at my house. So I was going onto my phone, and on NASCAR.com, during a race, it'll give you a set number of drivers with in-car cameras. Mm-hmm. And I was going back and watching, I was getting on the camera in Blaney's car, who was in 8th at the time. He finished 6th. Harvick was in 12th. I was getting in his in-car camera, watching him. And there was a lot of action going on back there in the, from 8 to 15. There was quite a bit of action going on back there.
Yeah. Yeah, that track is, and that's any track. That's not just Wilkesboro. That's any track. Anytime you think there's no action going on, you just take a look back through the field. You're going to see some action somewhere. So it's never boring. It's never a dull race.
Right. I mean, there's so many times that the TV camera is on what's going on up front, whoever's leading the race. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear them, and anybody watches the sport, they'll know because the camera will be on the leader, and you'll hear, "Oh, in turn 2," or
especially if Dale Jr. is doing the commentating.
Right.
He gets all excited.
And it's 3 to 5 seconds later, the camera pans over to somebody sitting in the infield with smoke rolling.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is a lot more action, and that's why you just can't beat it going and seeing it in person.
Right. Yeah. So it's there was a few people that a few drivers that I was impressed with, such as Ty Gibbs.
Bubba Wallace getting second.
Bubba Wallace, yeah, second place. Good showing for Bubba.
Not bad at all.
And I was really disappointed with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. I really thought they would have done better than what they did. I don't know.
They've already got millions.
Yeah, I mean they don't care, but
they was just trying not to wreck the boss's car. That's all they was trying to do.
And I did like that 29 on Harvick's
awesome
car. That was pretty cool to see. That's why I was hoping he would really do a lot better than what he did. Plus, I had a side bet with Jess. We just pulled a couple numbers out of a hat, and we had just a random bet going on with see whose driver could do better. And she ended up pulling Chase Briscoe, and I pulled Kevin Harvick.
There we go.
And she kicked my ass.
Loser gets anal.
Well, no, it wasn't that, thankfully. Thankfully, we didn't bet that this time, but no, I had to go out and get in the pool when it's still dirty. I'm still trying to clean the pool up, so I had to go out there and get in the pool and do all that. So I had to get dirty nasty, but
I hear you.
So, but it could have been a lot worse for me, I guess. But
yeah.
I think that's really all I've got to say about Wilkesboro. There is a couple more things we're going to talk about with Wilkesboro, but not necessarily the race. So
why don't you go ahead and hit on those?
That's what I'm going to do. This apparently, and I didn't see it or hear it the night of because I had worked all day. I was watching the race, and it got kind of late, and I kind of dozed off once I knew Kyle Larson was going to win it. It was pretty obvious that he was going to win, so I ended up dozing off, but I think I seen the checker flag, and I didn't remember anything after that. But apparently Bubba Wallace had an eventful post-race because he was getting interviewed by, is it Jamie Little? She was going to interview him, and he was kind of...
He was snapping his fire suit?
Yeah, he was adjusting right there around his neck, and it's Velcro right there, so it looked like he was undoing the Velcro and then doing it back. And in the process of that, he pulled the Velcro apart, kind of gave the finger to somebody that's behind the camera, and he didn't laugh. He kind of joke around or anything. He didn't really make any face. He just kept straight face the whole time he did it. And then he went back and he re-velcroed that. And a lot of people were giving him a hard time or had an opinion, pretty strong opinion about him giving the bird to whoever it was that he gave the bird to. Now, my opinion on that, who don't do that?
Right.
You know, everybody does that. You probably shouldn't do it on national TV.
Well, you and I spoke about this earlier.
Yes.
Because obviously I wasn't watching it, but I think everybody just needs to leave Bubba alone over something like that. This is a good old boy sport, and if you can't jokingly give somebody the finger that's walking by and saying, whatever it was.
I mean, it could have been his buddy going, "Suck it, you suck."
Yeah.
I mean, I would do
You're
that
the first
to you
loser.
probably.
Right. We would do that to each other.
Yes.
Just in good fun.
Right.
But people's blowing something up over Bubba Wallace because it's Bubba Wallace, and I have held no punches about not being a Bubba fan.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes more into PR issues with me.
Yeah.
It's not motivated by race. It's not motivated by skill. Nothing like that. I've just got some issues that I personally didn't like. Now, how many years did Stone Cold Steve Austin give the middle finger on national TV?
I'm pretty sure he never gave just one.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's all in good fun. And if one of your buddies can't walk by and make a smart-ass comment and you give them the bird, then go watch another sport.
Right.
Leave Bubba alone over something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see a problem with him giving the finger to somebody. And I think it was kind of obvious that he didn't do it in a pissed off manner.
Right.
Just the look on his face, it was just a quick, and then he's right there to the interview. Now, I will say, well, let me go ahead and get to the other part before I get to that. Apparently, after the race, and I had just heard this yesterday, that apparently his radio got hacked into, and how much of this is legit, I don't know. But I did hear at least two comments that were said on Bubba Wallace's radio.
Two different voices.
Yes, two different voices. And the first one I heard said something about, "You suck, go back where you came from." And then the second one said something to the fact of, "You're not wanted in NASCAR." That's pretty close to what they said. I don't know if that's quote, exactly what they said, but that is 99% what it was. So, first off, where did Bubba come from? Where's he from? Virginia? Is he from that area? So go back to where you came from. I don't get that. That's just stupid.
Well, that's
in my mind.
just ignorant people.
Yes.
And
ignorance does not win.
No, absolutely not. It will not. And you hit the nail right on the head with that. Here, being true NASCAR fans like Chad and myself are, we want the 35 or 38 or 40 best drivers in the world out there entertaining us on the sport that we love. It doesn't matter that Bubba Wallace is African American or interracial or anything like that. It doesn't.
Whatever he is, it don't matter.
Right. There is nobody out there that's 100% white. There's nobody out there that's 100% black or Japanese or Chinese or any of that.
Right.
These are all talented drivers. If Bubba wasn't supposed to be out there, leave it up to his bosses to say, "You're not cutting it."
Right. I mean, and
We're
they did that
moving
to Cole Custer.
Right.
And
it has nothing to do with race. As I mean, if he wasn't meant to be out there, if his owners and his team didn't have faith in him, he wouldn't be out there. So let them do their job. And if you've got comments like that, stick them up your ass.
Yeah, and something like that is tough because you can't. I don't think there's a way to catch that. I don't see how. I'm not very tech savvy, so I don't know how easy it is to hack into one of them radios. But maybe NASCAR. It's a public frequency, so I don't know how locked it is during the race. But this happened after the race, after Bubba had already taken his radio and his helmet off, so he didn't he didn't hear them as they happened. I'm sure he's probably heard that it happened afterwards, and somebody played it for him. But it's just, it's unnecessary, and that's the kind of stuff that gives NASCAR fans a bad name, because they already have this stereotype. I say we're NASCAR fans too. All NASCAR fans have this stereotype from someone on the outside looking in that we're just a bunch of beer drinking rednecks, and we're all
wife beating deer hunter,
racist Southern white people, and that's just not the case.
No.
You know, times have changed, and that's not how it is. So,
you know, they took away the Confederate flag being flown at tracks and not allowing people in with them and stuff like that. And you know,
I have mixed feelings on that.
Well, my thing with that is, and it's NASCAR's choice,
right?
You know, so I stand behind them on their choice, because it creates conflict because of so much ignorance out there. Yeah. You've got so many ignorant people that think the Confederate flag stands for racism. I don't like black people, or, you know, whatever, you know, and that's not even close to what the Confederate flag stood for.
That's not what I see when I see it.
Right. Absolutely not. And ignorance has canceled so much culture. And I stand behind NASCAR on them dropping the flag from their races, just because of the conflict that it created. Yeah. And it's not about racism, but that's why some people were flying it, you know, like they were proud of being racist.
Some people were flying it because to them it means racism. Some people were flying it just because it's a symbol of the South, and people that the old time people, not and I'm not talking about people that were around during slavery, because there's no one around that was
there is nobody alive today that owned slaves or was a slave.
Right.
Period.
So it doesn't, in my mind, of course I'm not from the South, but it's just a Southern pride thing, you know. And when I see that flag, it means the General Lee, you know, on the Dukes of Hazzard. Absolutely. To me, that's what I see when I see that flag. It has nothing to do with racism. Every time I see it,
I hear that Dixie horn.
Exactly, you know. I'm seeing a car jump over a ramp and
over a train.
Yeah, so it, like you said, it has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people.
Well, it's only got one meaning, period. The Confederate flag does, period. Yes. You look up on a real, however you want to look it up, what the true meaning of a Confederate flag is. It is not racism.
Right.
And when you have ignorant people flying it for the purpose of racism, they need to be smacked in the head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because that's not what it's about. And I know this whole conversation got, you know, ramped up over Bubba Wallace, but you know, Bubba is a talented driver.
Mm-hmm.
But NASCAR as a whole is a business.
Yes.
And no owner gets into NASCAR to lose money. So everybody that, you know, thinks like that, believes like that, you just need to sit back and chill the hell out for a little bit, because these owners aren't going to put somebody in this seat to go out there and lose money every week.
Right. And if you like what you said, if you think that, you need to ask some people that know exactly what they're talking about, and they'll give you a perspective, and that will change your mind.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
If it don't, go watch another sport.
Yeah. And so, to get back to that, those comments were stupid. They were unnecessary, and whoever did that is just showing their ignorance.
But they got the talent and the knowledge to hack into a NASCAR radio. But
I don't understand this.
But they're too damn stupid to understand that it's not a
racial thing.
It's not racial.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? I mean, Bubba's got a few wins under his belt. I've said it as long as I can remember. You know, when Bubba came into the Cup Series, I wasn't opposed to it. You know, because I'm not racial. Mm-hmm. But if he wasn't supposed to be there, he wouldn't be there. There's
Right.
been some things that have happened in the past that I'm not a fan of, but it's not, my perspective isn't based off racial reasons.
Yeah.
So
I think Bubba needs to quit worrying about what other people think. I think he is so far in his own head right now that it is affecting how he does on the racetrack. He's letting stupid things, like what we were just talking about, get to him. Now, I don't know if that's a fact because I don't talk to Bubba, but I do believe that he is just letting those things weigh him down, and he needs to let them go. Because I guarantee if he can let those go and just be him, and just drive that car, because he's got a damn fast car almost every week.
Yep.
There's 6 Toyotas out there, and he's probably one of the fastest ones.
But, on top of it, the old saying, shut up and drive.
Yep.
Now, I'm not telling Bubba to shut up, but if he, it would be hard to, we've been to races, and when they do the driver introductions and stuff like that, when they do announce Bubba, and he comes down the ramp and waving at the crowd and stuff, there's a lot of people booing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not a racial thing because
he didn't get nearly as many boos as Kyle Busch did.
Exactly. Now, Kyle is about as white as you can be,
Right.
know. But I'm not going to say it wasn't a racial thing because there probably is a lot of ignorance in them crowds.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But he also took swings at the most popular driver in NASCAR, Kyle
Right.
Larson. So you made a lot of enemies like that. You've had a few tantrums. You've made some enemies like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's if Bubba would just ignore the booze and go out there and shut up and drive and show the NASCAR world what he can do. If he can just let that, like I said, it may be an age thing, a maturity thing, but maybe if he can just let that roll off his shoulders and go out there and perform the best he can and forget all that BS, he would gain some popularity because,
Yeah.
you and I have been to numerous races and we've seen black people there, we've seen Asian people there, we've seen white people there, and that's what we want.
The diversity is growing.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Absolutely. We see, there's a lot of women there,
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. Danica was great for the sport for that because, there were a lot of wives that wanted that girl to cheer for.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see Haley Deegan come up and get them back,
Well, I would like to see that. I think she has a lot to prove behind the wheel. But I would really like to see her get an Xfinity ride just because I've heard that these trucks handle so much differently than the cars do. So I would like to see what she can do behind an Xfinity wheel.
I would too.
But yeah, I watch her YouTube channel quite a bit.
I'm a
I
Haley
think
Deegan
I've subscribed to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a Haley Deegan fan too.
It's not. She's a beautiful young woman. There ain't no doubt. But it's she's talented as well. And I would like to see her perform at the Cup level.
Yeah.
Get out there with these guys and. I give my old lady a lot of hell. Men being better drivers than women and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just the normal.
It's joking around,
Right?
Just give
but
her a jab.
But I would love for her to start coming to the races and cheering for this young lady.
Yeah.
I would cheer for her. I want to see.
I would love to see her do good.
Right, I would love to see her do good.
Yeah.
The new calendar wouldn't be bad either.
Right?
Come on, Cup Series. You want to sell some calendars?
Come
let's
on,
do
Tony.
something.
Hey, Tony. She's a Ford driver. You might be needing a couple of them here pretty soon. Because I'm pretty sure Tony, he's the one that signed Danica, didn't he?
Yep.
He's not a dumb guy.
No.
Tony knows what he's doing business-wise.
Yep.
He knows what sells.
Yep.
But back to Bubba, I'm going to say if Bubba would just take the Ric Flair perspective and just embrace it. If they're booing you, Just embrace it. Embrace being the bad guy. If that's what people want to make you out to be, just embrace it. And then when you put that helmet on,
put them alligators on.
Exactly. Just when you put that helmet on, you say, "Watch this. You hated me now.
Really gonna
Wait till
hate me.
after I win. Then you're really gonna hate me. Give you a reason to boo me." So he just needs to get out of his own head, let that stuff go, and I guarantee better results are on the horizon if he can do that. So because he's got the talent, he's got the car, he's got the equipment,
Got the team.
he's got a damn good crew chief.
Yep.
And he's got some pit crew guys that are not screwing him over every week in the pits. So I think that is the only thing holding Bubba back right now is
Himself.
being his own head. Yeah,
Yep.
himself. So let that go, Bubba, and you'll get some wins. Guarantee it.
Yep.
So we're mid-season now. What do you think about mid-season? From what we've seen so far up to this point, and what we might be looking at coming up, what are your thoughts? Who are some of the people, some of the drivers that are surprising you? Do you have any that are surprising?
I'm surprised by William Byron. I am, but I'm not. I mean, the young man's talented. Mm-hmm. He's got a great team, and Rick and Jeff know what they're doing when they look at young talent. So, I mean, but for anybody this season to have 3 wins and it be William Byron, that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot out of him. Mm-mm. He keeps to himself. He lets his driving do the talking.
He shuts up and drive.
Right.
Yeah.
sounds like a wise man right there, doesn't it? So, he surprised me. But also, I mean, Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez have surprised me because last year they were dominating. And not so much Daniel with wins last year, but Daniel had a lot of top 5s and top 10s. Ross was, I think, at this point had maybe even earlier had 3 wins already, and they're losing ground.
Yeah.
And but what surprises me more than anything is not only how far Ford has fell back, but how much ground Chevy has gained. So it's like Chevy's really done their homework in the off season and figured some things out. But you got drivers out there like Chase Briscoe and Joe Logano and Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick in his retirement year, not pulling wins yet.
Yeah.
And that's surprising to me.
Yeah, I think everything that you just touched on is some of the things that I was going to say. Byron having 3 wins. If you'd have told me at the start of the year there's going to be one driver with 3 wins at the All-Star race, I would not have said it would be Byron. I would have thought it would have been Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson.
Well,
and Larson has 3, but only 2 of them count. So, but Chevy with 8, Toyota with, and those 8, you got 3 drivers there that have 5 of those wins. Wait a minute, am I saying that right? 3 drivers with 7 of those wins.
Right.
Byron with 3, Larson with 2, and Kyle Busch with 2, and then Ricky Stenhouse has 1. Toyota, they have 4 wins, but they've kind of spread them all out. You got 6 Toyota drivers, 4 of them all have 1 win. And then you got Ford, Joey Logano, he's the only Ford with a win, and that's kind of surprising to me.
Right.
I mean,
it's very surprising.
Yes, because
they were dominating last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just thought, well, we've got this figured out. Let's chill. We don't need to push so hard on the homework. We don't need to figure this thing. We've got it locked in. Well, if that's the case, and I don't know, Chevy surpassed them on their homework over the off season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Chevy has. They're definitely making some moves there as far as doing their homework and just getting in there and grinding during the off season to figure some things out, finding out some things that are apparently helping out on the track. So Ford has a lot of homework to do. Toyota's just about middle of the road, I feel. They're fast. Them Toyotas are fast. They're just not able to get around that Chevy at the end of the race. But I'm okay with that okay with that. So,
I wish Dodge would get their balls back and get back in NASCAR.
yeah.
And have 4 manufacturers.
Do you remember back in the day when you used to have Buick and Pontiac and all
Mhm.
Oldsmobile were all out there?
Yeah, believe it or not, back in '59, I think it was, um, Jaguar was in NASCAR.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was one of the first foreign.
Hmm.
It's '59 or '60.
A Jaguar?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty
And
cool to
that's
think
what I'm
about.
right. I mean you don't have to be American made to be in the sport. And the more manufacturers that we get in there, the better to me.
I think so too. I would like to see about 5 or 6 different ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And I loved it when Dodge was in there. I wish, Dodge would come back and say, we've got something now, because, they produced the Challenger and the Charger. A lot of these cars are cop cars. And let's see what your car can really do, Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Get your balls back. Get back in the sport and see if you can pony up with these Chevys and Toyotas and Fords.
I think if Dodge was to get back right now, or let's say they started at the beginning of this season, I think they would have more wins than Toyota and Ford. I think they would have taken a couple from Chevy. So let's say that would knock Chevy down to, let's say 5. I would give Dodge 3. I don't know. I'm going to go Chevy 6, Dodge 3. Knock Toyota down to a couple and Ford with a couple. But we never know if they're not going to get in there.
Right.
So they need to. But
I'd be, just me being a huge manufacturer in the United States, I'd be embarrassed that I wasn't in NASCAR. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, this is the big boy sport. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you don't have to get into everything, but get in the Cup Series and show your stones. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got Chevy Camaros, Ford Mustangs out there. Let's see what you got, Dodge.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Ford only having one that's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
You've got too many good Ford drivers.
You got a lot of talent on the Ford side.
You got a lot of talent,
and not young either. And you got Keselowski, you got Harvick, you got Logano with only win, Blaney, who is way ahead of his time, Briscoe. It's not a. Well, you got Harrison Burton in the Ford, the Wood Brothers Ford. He's really been a big letdown to me. I figured being the family he come from and the upbringing he had, and I'm not talking about being raised. I'm talking about he's been racing since he was a young man.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe it's Ford that's slowing him down right now.
It could be. I'm not putting this on any driver because if it wasn't Ford, why is RFK, Roush Fenway Keselowski? They're suffering. Penske's suffering. Wood Brothers is suffering. Stewart Haas is suffering. I'm sitting here with a Stewart Haas shirt on while we do this podcast, and it hurts me to say that they are suffering. And so I know it's not a Tony Stewart issue because it's all Ford manufacturing teams. You know what I'm saying? There's something going on here. I don't think it's a driver issue because if they had good equipment and it was a driver issue.
I think a wise man once said it's just shitty parts.
Right. Yeah. You can't drive a slow car fast.
Right.
Kevin Harvick.
Yep.
Quote the great one right there. Can't drive a slow car fast. And, it's not. It cannot be a team related issue. It's a manufacturer issue because we know it's hard to pass in these cars. It don't matter if you're in a Ford, Toyota, or Chevy. It's hard to pass out there.
Yeah.
But Chevy's making it look a lot fucking easier than Toyota and Ford are.
Yeah, they are making it look pretty easy, and that's kind of along them lines. I was thinking Chase Elliott without a win. That's crazy.
I mean,
and
he
I know
was
it
snowboarding.
has something to do with his snowboarding. He likes to go snowboarding, but he needs to put that mustache back on, put some Hooters back on that car, and go put it in victory circle. Winner's circle. But it's surprising that he don't have a win.
Well, wait till the road course.
I think he's gonna end up with a couple by the time the season's over with. But that surprises me that he don't have one. Something else at Trackhouse, like you said, Trackhouse not having a win surprises me. And I know Suarez, he was running there at the start of the season. He had quite a few top 5s, top 10s, but he's just kind of fallen off of it so far. I really like the way that car looked at the All-Star race. That black with the chrome letters. That was a good look. I like that. They need to bring that back. But Chastain's just beating himself. If he would quit, he's kind of another one. I don't think
he's right there.
I don't think he's in his own head as much as Bubba is. But if he would quit worrying about payback and either worrying about him paying somebody else back or somebody paying him back and just go race the car, I think he would have had a win or two by now. He might have won that Darlington race.
Right. But if you go out there and you set your own reputation, you're a driver, you go out there week in and week out, you create your own reputation. That's one thing money can't buy is a reputation. So it don't matter if you're on a small town, Brownstown dirt track, or if you're in go-karts, or if you're in sprint cars, or if you're in late models, or if you're on the NASCAR circuit, you can't buy a reputation. No
Nope.
matter how much money you got, you cannot buy a reputation. So when these guys, any driver in any racing sport goes out there and you create your own reputation. So if you go out there and race clean and race the best you can, you're going to have more success in the long run. I mean, that's just common sense. So
it's going to help you out at the end of the year if you're in one of them final 4 spots.
Right. And I'm not saying don't go out there and bump and run on the last lap of a race. I'm not saying that, but when you do it on lap 65 or 66 during a race, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You know, and we've talked about that in the past on previous episodes. But it's we got Charlotte coming up, the Coke 600, the biggest race of the year.
Yeah.
As far as the longest, 600 miles, and the same day as the Indy 500.
Yeah,
it's a great day for racing.
It's a good day. That's what I was gonna say. It's a great day for racing. I enjoy it.
I love the Coke 600. It's a night race. I mean, it's Memorial Day weekend every year. I love to, every so often, once every decade or so, there's a driver that's going to get the balls enough to do the double. We've talked about too in the past is Smoke and Kurt Busch. A few of these guys have done it, but it takes a special talent to do this 1,100 miles in one day. When you do the Indy 500, then jump in a copter and go to the Coke 600 and basically don't even take your racing suit off. You just get out of the helicopter and run to your car,
You might have time to pee real quick, and that's about it.
Maybe. But, the Charlotte race, the Coke 600 is fantastic. Yeah. And, I can go ahead and say this now because this won't be posted until Thursday night, but I took my boy for this race, Chase Briscoe, the hometown man. I'm putting a lot of faith in Ford right now.
This is a Chevy track.
Yeah, well, every track's a Chevy track right now.
I know. I was going to throw that in there at some point, but you beat me to it.
So this is not track faith. This is not manufacturer faith. This is hometown faith right here.
Yeah, and one thing I'm really looking forward to in this Coke 600, Jimmy Johnson's going to be driving it.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Johnson.
Number 84.
Yep, number 84. 7-time. He's been known to do pretty good at this track.
And I don't think he's got the stamina for it.
You question a man's stamina?
Absolutely.
He is older, but, they make pills for that now.
Yep. You can get them at any gas station.
Oh yeah. um,
I don't
and
need them.
I was gonna say,
I
well,
just
wait till you get older. You'll have times. You'll have moments. You know.
well,
Um,
my trick is we just think of something off. You know.
yeah.
Yeah. I I resort to the Golden Girls or something like that.
Which one?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
You're not just partial to Betty White?
Nope. I'm a Blanche guy myself, but
No, that's
you
yeah.
got to cut her out of the picture. You throw
Dorothy.
Rose, Dorothy, and what's the other one?
Sophia.
Sophia.
Yeah.
You throw them in there like they're standing in the room looking at you, and you'll last a minute. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. You gotta
can't
be
break-
careful. You gotta be careful though, 'cause there's a fine line.
If Blanche walks in, you cut that minute in half. You know what I'm saying?
I've never used that. I've never tried that approach.
Yeah.
The Golden Girls approach. Well, I'm sure I'll probably use it at some point, but
I won't live to the age where it'll hurt me. You know what I'm saying?
right. Oh man. So anyway, back to Charlotte. I'm picking. I haven't sent you my pick yet. It's only Wednesday, but I'm gonna go ahead and lock it in right now.
You'll still have to text it to me so don't forget.
Yeah, I will. I'll still text it to you. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do that right now. I was initially all year long, and this is probably gonna bite me in the ass because it usually does. My gut instinct was to take Jimmy Johnson for two reasons. Because he's pretty good at this track. Last time I picked him, he kind of screwed me, kind of didn't. He ended up finishing second, but he got disqualified, finished like 38th or whatever.
Yep.
Pissed me
that.
off. Oh, yeah. But you look through the results of Charlotte Motor Speedway, which used to be sponsored by Lowe's. So was Jimmy Johnson. It was just a perfect match, and he always ended up winning or right there in the top 5. So he's just got something figured out about this track, and all year long I've been thinking I'm just going to take Jimmy Johnson at Charlotte. Plus, for fantasy reasons, that will be a decent pick. I'm expecting a decent to good pick, and it will save a good driver for later. We'll save a good pick for later.
Yeah, because Jimmy's not racing many races this year, so if you burn an 84, it's not going to affect you that much down the road.
Right. Could be a good pick too.
Right.
And
it won't be, but yeah, you're right.
But I ended up not doing that. And I am going to take... I'm trying to text and talk at the same time. It's not really working out for me. I'm going to take the 8 of Kyle Busch.
That's a good pick. That's a solid pick.
Yes, I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Now, going against my gut has not been working out for me very well. Anytime I go against my gut, it ends up biting me. So I'm hoping that this one don't.
And I don't know if I touched on it when I said I'm going with the hometown boy or not, but I'm doing the same thing. I'm going with Chase Briscoe. He's one of my boys. He's a Stewart Haas guy. He's a local man right here to Southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of his. So I'm taking my gut over everything that statistics are showing me as far as Ford being good this year. And
How's his finger doing?
I don't know, but if I see him before the race, I'm gonna break it.
Yeah.
Just because he seemed to be doing better. But
you break one, he's gonna get top
But I tell you
5.
what,
you break 2, he might win.
But I tell you what, at the All-Star race, he got 4th. And it's the All-Star race, but I feel like Chase he's not happy with his performance this year. And I'm not putting that on his driving ability.
Well, I think that's all the Ford drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm putting this more on the manufacturer's shoulders. But I think this 600-mile race is going to be a young man's wheelhouse. And on
You're
top
taking
of
the stamina route, huh?
yeah, and on top of the stamina, you throw in talent. So I think your Chase Elliott's, your Ryan Blaney's, maybe Logano, maybe, and then your Chase Briscoe, and uh, it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody like Busher running up front, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe not 3/4 of the race, but I think when the checker flag flies, Chase Briscoe's gonna be right there.
He very well could be. I mean, he's been right there quite a few times this year. He just hasn't been able to close the deal.
Right.
Um,
And Kyle Larson can run away with this thing.
He could.
He's a young man. He might only race 3 nights during the week this week instead of 5. But just because he's got to get his sleep in for this 600-mile race.
Right.
But I mean, this is a very doable race for Kyle Larson and William Byron and Chase Elliott. I mean, Hendricks is dominating.
Yeah.
And it'd be very easy, even Josh Berry, to
Well,
walk away with one of these races.
To touch on that, I was just looking at NASCAR.com, and Alex Bowman has been cleared to race this weekend at the Coke 600. So we won't be seeing Josh Berry in that 48 car. But
And that's great, big round of applause for Alex Bowman. But I think if I was Rick Hendricks, I'd tell Bowman, hey, we're going to let you get a little extra rest.
Yeah.
And I'd put Josh Berry in that car.
He's been doing really good.
Yeah.
I think if the rumors are true, I think Stuart Haas is getting a pretty good driver next year to probably wheel either that 14 or that 4 car.
The 41?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
not
no.
the 14.
I think he's either going to be taking either.
He's taking Almirola.
Hold on here. He could either be sitting in Kevin Harvick's seat,
We expect
or
that.
maybe they might move Briscoe to Harvick's seat and then put Barry in Briscoe's seat.
No, that'd be pretty sweet because I got a lot of number 4 shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
And
Right?
I'm a Harvick, Briscoe, Blaney kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I trust in Tony.
Yeah.
I think my license plate
I'm
even says
sure
that.
he's.
In
I
Tony
mean, he
we
made
trust.
a smart move putting Cole Custer back in the Xfinity Series and getting Ryan Preece up there. I think that's. I mean, Preece doesn't have the wins, but he's
showing himself pretty early in the season.
right. He's doing a pretty good job so far.
Doing better than Coaster was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I call him Coaster because he was coasting for fucking years.
I've never heard anybody call him Coaster, but that fits pretty good. You mentioned Blaney just a second ago. Do you think Blaney's going to get a win this year?
I do.
I think he will. It's just a matter of when and where.
I think he needs to grow that mullet Fu Manchu back out and show the boys what he's made of.
Can you imagine a racetrack with a Ryan Blaney mullet, Fu Manchu, and a Chase Elliott porn stash?
Right. That'd be pretty cool.
That's going to be your top 2 finishers right there. They're going to be duking it out for it.
You tell us where it's going to happen at, we'll be there.
Exactly. That's a race I want to see.
You'll see the Rod in the Wall booth set up.
Guarantee it. What about Ross Chastain? Is he going to win one?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just trying to,
I don't put it past him, just because he was so impressive last year. And I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Well,
this year.
you done made Rick Hendrick mad.
Right.
We talked about this last week. Made Rick Hendrick mad. He's got to settle down.
I mean,
if he has to change his driving style, he may not win one.
Well, and just like you touched on last week, I think there's more going on behind the scenes at Trackhouse than what the public knows. As far as Justin Marks telling his boys, go out there, take no enemies. You do you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about nothing else. And then him backing off and kind of stepping in his own shit.
Right.
So I mean, there may be some in-house things going on that he's working through. It wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Ross get a win this year. But I'll tell you what, I think if he does, it'll be on a road course.
I think so too.
And after Charlotte, after the Coke 600, we go to Worldwide Tech, and we're better to win worldwide when one of your owners is Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide, yeah. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's some
fitting.
big shoes to fill. If Mr. Worldwide owns your team and you don't go win the Worldwide race,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd fire you.
Right.
You know, I mean,
I think that's really what I'm going to be watching for the rest of the season, to see if some of these drivers that have the talent, and some of them that we thought would have already won by this point, like a Blaney, Chastain, Elliott, they're winless. Let's see if they win one. I think Elliott's going to be the first one to do so, and then probably Rawson and Blaney.
I think what this year is going to put more of a spotlight on is which one of these guys in a Ford car, because Ford is sucking hind tit right now with one win for the whole year. And let's see which talented driver can put a Ford in victory lane, because it's going to take a damn good wheelman to get a Ford there.
Who's going to be the next Ford to win?
Right. Is what I'm looking at. Chase Briscoe's going to be the next Ford.
You think this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a Ford will win the Coke 600.
That's a bold prediction. You've been
3 for 3.
You've been making them coming true on them.
And I hope it's Briscoe, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it ain't Blaney or Busher or Brad or.
I think it's going to be a Hendrick car.
I don't.
I just have a feeling.
They've got all the.
And I took an RCR car, but.
Right. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to see a Chevrolet win, but I mean, hell, Eric Jones could pull this thing out, you know. So.
Did Hunter take him?
No, he ain't turned in a pick yet.
Okay. Well.
I'm hoping to see something different out of Hunter.
What are you hoping to see?
I'm hoping to see him get a big 38.
That would be nice.
But, you know, I mean, those front numbers right there are so close. And no, I don't want to see Hunter get a 38. But, you know, I mean, he's been, man, this boy's been riding on top of the rainbow for a while now. And, you know, I remember last season Hunter coming to me and being like, dude, my driver got a 19th place. What am I going to do? You know, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I got a 36. You know, what are you talking about?
There was a couple of times last year I racked up 100 points in 3 races, and that's.
But you know, I want to see everybody in this league do good. Well,
let's just go ahead and start talking about the league. I mean,
right, but I think it'll be. I think Ford's gonna surprise everybody this week, and when I put a lot of faith into something, it seems to happen pretty well, except for the lottery.
You've been playing that?
Oh, I've been playing it for years. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you made one of your bold predictions.
No, not on the lottery.
Come true yet, and just didn't tell me about it.
No, I bought a $5 ticket the other day and won $10 on it.
That's better than I did.
And I thought, boy, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go give me a $10 scratcher now.
Mm-hmm.
And I scratched that thing off and it said, you owe me $20. Son of a bitch.
Right. That's why I don't play. I gotta play to win. I don't never play. I'm too poor to even play.
I figure if I spend however much money a week on my choice of alcoholic beverages,
right,
being Busch Light,
yeah,
then I could spend a few bucks on Powerball and Mega Million.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you never know when it's going to come through for you.
I don't need to get rich. You know, I just want to be okay.
Right.
You know, I want to be
just need to be comfortable.
Yeah, take care of Mom and
a
few others, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, I don't need 150 million. Just a few.
Exactly.
Yeah. But this fantasy, we talked quite a bit about it last week, and it hasn't changed since there hasn't been a points race. But these points are tight, and I think this week, of course, I don't know who's made their pick and what they have picked yet, but we could see a big shakeup this week just because the points are so close. I mean, I'm riding in 13th place, and with one good race, I could jump up into somewhere between right around 7th, 8th, 9th place, so it's kind of a big race.
One bad race.
I could drop way back, yes. I'm experienced at that.
Right.
I haven't really experienced jumping up 6, 7, 8 spots in one race, but I would like to. Maybe I need to get a hold of Mama Lou and see what her strategy is.
She hasn't turned in a pick yet.
She's studying it pretty hard, ain't she?
I'm kind of eager to see who she goes with.
Now, I was talking to HR yesterday, and he told me he had he told me he picked one, but he wasn't sure if he was going to change it.
He's already locked it in.
Okay. And I was giving him a hard time. I think, now he gives me hints from time to time. He said he hasn't picked this guy yet, which I told him at the time. I was thinking about Jimmy, and I went ahead and told him this time. I usually don't do that.
Right.
I usually keep my cards close to the vest, right? So I went ahead and so I'm going to think out loud this time, Scotty. My gut says Jimmy Johnson, but I'm really thinking about Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. He said, what was it he said? He said something about might not be a bad pick or something like that. I'll just pull it up and read it to you.
Yeah, Scotty's our HR, just so you know. If any of you need to contact the show's HR, we can give you that number.
Yeah.
He'll set you straight.
Mm-hmm. At first he said he thought I was considering Bubba, but I told him, rest assured, Scotty, I'm not going to pick your driver.
Toyota ain't going to win this race.
Well, Scotty, I don't know if anybody knows this. I don't know if I've said this in past episodes or not, but Bubba is Scotty's favorite driver.
Right. Yeah. He's a big Bubba fan.
He talks about Bubba all the time.
I know.
And he said he already picked his driver. And I told him, I said, I'm going to read this to you. I said, I'm going to think out loud this time. I'm considering Johnson. He was my initial gut instinct thought. Then I went with Kyle Busch. Strong possibility there. Now Brad K is creeping into the picture. Those are my pick possibilities. And I said, after looking at your picks so far, you could be taking Busch or Brad K too. He said, correct, you could be. And he said he's really considering Bubba right now too. So, and I knew he would be. It's just.
I mean, the guy that's got a bath towel with the number 23. I mean,
he's got a McDonald's 23X. All that.
Oh, I know.
You know how it is. I mean, you've been over to the HR office.
I think he's even got like the Big Mac tattoo.
Have you seen the cardboard cutout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He keeps it in the window. But
he's super proud of it.
Oh, I know he is. And he should be. If that's his driver, that's his driver. You are the way God made you. So.
Right. But, so I don't know. I'm thinking he might have either picked Busch or Brad K also. I don't know that. But I've locked in my Kyle Busch. So I'm hoping that we didn't pick the same person because we're 13 points apart. So I'd really like to see him pick a Ford driver so maybe I can gain a little bit of ground. Or he might take his Bubba.
He might. He's got a lot of faith in that guy.
He does. I know every time we talk, Bubba gets brought up.
Right.
So. But anyway, Hunter is in second place. I like to see that for a little while. Let that kind of. Josh is only 3 points away from him.
Well, I mean, you look at the top. Let's look at the top four. There's only 26 points dividing the top four. That's one good race, one bad race. I mean, anybody could be leading this thing. And what better race to do this at than the Coke 600, where there's always one or two big ones, right. And it's an endurance race. So, I mean, you got a lot of strategy coming into play on how long we're going to run these tires. So
that's what's going to decide the race.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Tires blow just like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, somebody that's out there trying to get every inch out of these tires.
I knew a girl like that in high school.
I did too.
Yeah.
Probably the same one.
Probably.
Burn a lot of rubber.
Yep. Has Earl made his pick?
Neither him nor Sonia have made their pick.
I guarantee you Sonia is making the pick this week because Earl fell 4 spots last time. I give Jess a hard time. She's still down there in 21st spot.
She's already submitted her pick.
Has she?
Yep.
Earlier today, she said she wasn't sure, so I didn't know if she
on my drive here, she submitted her pick.
Really? I'll tell you, somebody that I'm really watching right now is Jason H.
He jumped up 5 spots.
He's jumping up there. He was down there in the bottom. He was down there in Paul's territory. But he's up to 16th spot. He's just one good race away. He's right around top 10. So, I mean, that's just how close these points are. And that's what I like about this league. It's simple. The rules is not complicated. It's as simple as can be, but yet it's at the same time, it's so difficult, because you don't want to burn these drivers out too soon. It's an endurance thing. It's you going back to the stamina. It's a stamina show.
Bring in the Golden Girls.
Yep. You got stamina. You've got strategy. You've got planning. You've got all that stuff that goes into this, and the rules and everything is just so simple.
And I brought up Eric Jones can pull this thing off in a Chevrolet. It wouldn't surprise me none to see Noah Gragson up there.
Yeah.
He's also on that team, and driving a Chevrolet, and he's a young man, so 600 miles is going to be easier for somebody like that than it is for somebody like Kevin Harvick or Jimmy Johnson, and I say this not like it's going to be hard for these guys, because these veterans have done it for years. Kyle Busch, Harvick, Brad, Joey, Jimmy. These guys have done this year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but where it's going to hurt these young guys is when they do start running longer on old tires. Are they going to know how to keep up with the veterans that already know how to do that? Because the fewer times you can pit, the better your chances are. We all know that.
Right.
So these crew chiefs are going to be pushing these drivers to stay out, get down to, shutting your motor off on cautions. And, just little things like that.
Save fuel and save tires.
Right. So, a lot of things like that are going to weigh on these guys. And are the young guns going to be able to keep up with the veterans? And are the veterans' stamina going to be able to keep up with the young guns?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's going to be something to watch. It's going to be interesting.
And to me, Chase Briscoe and Ryan Blaney are right there in that wheelhouse of being knowledgeable, experienced, and young enough to pull this off.
Yeah. I just thought of a question. I'm gonna run this by you real quick before we're done. Noah Gragson got the fan vote this year to get in the All-Star race, right?
Yep.
He's going to a Toyota next year. Does he still get that fan vote next year if he's in a Toyota?
I don't think he got it off anything more than him confronting Ross Chastain. I don't think he got it off how good he's doing this year. I don't think he got it off his haircut. I don't think he got it off Chevrolet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think it was strictly he confronted Ross Chastain on his actions, and that's how he got in. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It seems like to me right now, if somebody goes out there and DDTs Ross Chastain in the infield, they're going to be the fans' choice. You know what I mean?
For at least a month.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
That sounds good. Well, that's about all I've got to talk about.
We got 20 minutes for the
race to start.
For the dirt race starts.
Well, we're getting ready to head that way. But, next week we'll see what shakes out with Charlotte. We'll talk about that. Look forward to Worldwide.
And we know y'all can hear the background here. Neither one of us are driving to the race, just so you know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any cops out there listening or not, but
I'm sure they are.
Right.
Who's not listening?
Well,
right?
they're not fast enough to catch us anyway.
Nope.
But
I'm in a Chevy.
Yep. And I'm a well man.
That's right.
You can put me on a lawnmower. Hell, you can put me on a push lawnmower and I'll run the cops around here.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So
that's a fact. But we'll be back next week to talk about Charlotte, look ahead to Worldwide, and talk about this fantasy stuff again. See how that shaked out. We can make a little bit more fun of HR while we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all take care, and thanks for listening. And
we'll talk to you next week.
Keep on keeping on. Right in the face.